Starting with race number 1, that'd be a logical place to start, wouldn't it? And it is for the amateurs. Thad, equal favourites here in Fort Knox and Magic Ivan.
Yeah, look, what's the age-old adage in an amateur race? Back Scott Wen and Linda Wheeler, and you won't go too far away. Certainly Scott Wen taking most of the action at this stage on Princess Raj. A consistent type. There's always good money for it, and they think Princess Raj is going to be winning today out there at 5.5. Look, Magic Ivan and Fort Knox both at $4. Certainly between those two, Magic Ivan clearly the better backed of those two. You could expect Fort Knox to perhaps be a bit of a drifter. And then I'm sure there'll be plenty of Linda Wheeler fans wanting to be on keen to keep her there at 6.5. But best bet clearly Princess Raj at this stage ahead of Magic Ivan.
Let's have a look at the speed map for the amateurs. Maybe pretty hard one to work out exactly where they might land. Some of these riders we don't see too often, obviously, so knowing their normal pattern, Aidan, can be a challenge, but keen to keep it, likely to go forward. And Magic Ivan saw it race at the National Carnival, and I think maybe the mile might be too short, but we'll find out shortly.
Yeah, of course, this was meant to be over further ground, wasn't it, for Te Aroha, but then obviously with the switch, this was back to 16. I think it was actually back to 16 earlier in the week anyhow, just because of the starting point there at the 2000 and just having to go past a dodgy point in ground. But yeah, I was with Magic Ivan here. I thought the horse looked an outstanding prospect. Emma Quinn's won 2 of 16 rides, so the strike rate's not too bad. Prepared by Raymond Connors. It will be a little bit testing here today, and we're going to go back and have a look at it. This was in the same races as I think Ave Marie as well, but that horse is now going to run at New Plymouth today. So the two Kevin Myers runners are out, Lockerburn and Ave Maria, and they did look the main two hopes in the race. But Magic Ivan did really close off strongly on both occasions, finishing 7th in behind Olive Bubbles in the amateurs on the middle day, and then strongly for 4th there, as you can see, and behind Centre Attention on the last day. So it looks good enough form for me. The push we're hearing from bookmakers through Thad is a good one. So that's the way I'm going in the race. Magic Ivan, I thought, very hard to beat. The danger in the race was the likely leader in the race. We know sometimes Te Aroha can play towards some of those horses in the leading division, and the speed map's spot on. I've got key to keep it as a likely pace in the race.
The Patrons Maiden Hurdle is race number 2 out of Te Aroha on this very important jumping day, and the Wheeler Crop combination is where favouritism is with. Cashel at $2.50, $4 about the other half, and $4.25 that about Zach Brown.
Tricky, Greg, very, very tricky. We've lost Henry Tudor out of the race, who's opted for the open hurdle. He was a $2.20 favourite when we opened this market, a 36% deduction into that market, and when that does happen, it can bring up the favourites a fraction short, and there can be a bit of value on outsiders, generally speaking. Sensational, 13, it's paying 13s currently. Number 5 in the book and I'm Bronson are both losing results for us currently in this market, so they're suggesting a little bit of value around there. 2 down the bottom make their debut. Willie John McBride over hurdles, I should say, and Zach Brown. Both have their supporters. Perhaps Willie John McBride at this stage from the Rogerson, Team Rogerson, the better backed of those two, but interest in both. Look, Cashel comes back from down south, performed well, would deserve a hurdles win. Just whether that 2.5 is any value, well, certainly early indications are it is not. So looking for a little bit of value in the second of the day, Greg.
I did speak to John Wheeler about Cashel yesterday, and he said it's in the right place, Aidan, but has had 8 previous goes over the hurdles and yet to win, so I suppose there's some trepidation there.
Yeah, there has to be, but this looks a gift, especially when, you know, I've gone through, done selections on this race, and of my top 4 selections, it's the only one who's still starting in the race. So my selections in this race might look a little bit ordinary on the graphics. But Cashel, the last start run for second at Riccarton was a good one, just encouraging. His head got that jumping experience, and, you know, look, we see a couple of those horses down the bottom that are sort of novices to this. So maybe the experience should play on its part. The running behind the Huntsman last time out was good enough. So I've got Cashel on top. I thought the other half was the main danger. And then the 2 down the bottom, obviously from 2 noted stables from Jumps Racing, Team Rogerson's Willie John McBride, who does have flat ability. And, of course, we're using Stephen Nichols's Jumps ability as a trainer, as a guide towards the one right down the bottom. But, yeah, I thought this was a gift, Cashel.
Let's head to race number 3, again a maiden hurdle here, and the market, Thad, looks like this. You're going to want to talk a little bit about this, because I'm thinking and hearing that El Lucador has been heavily backed, and heavily backed through multis as well.
Jumps like a stag apparently, Greg. Look, you want to take these good flat horses over the hurdles. Certainly our customers do. We know how good El Luchador is, and at 2.2, look, he'll be our only losing result at the off El Luchador. Certainly can't see him moving any higher than the 2.2 currently on offer. Yeah, not a lot around him, to be perfectly honest. El Bayardo, the second favourite at 5.5, deathly quiet at this stage, although its hurdles runs have been good, have been consistent. There has been just a little move down the bottom, Greg, raised in a sandpit. Has been 16 into 14 for Emily Farr. I see Sean Phelan on the one up the top, crack the good stuff. Maybe Emily has pulled the right rein in this maiden hurdle, but as I said to you, if anything beats El Luchador, they're expecting a very big debut, and if he gets beaten somehow, it'll be a winning result for us.
I'm interested in how Galante might go here for the $2 million earner, of course. We'll wait and see whether the hurdles in front of this horse might spark it up again. Aidan, what about for you? Because this is a tricky race.
Yeah, sure is. Understandably, El Luchador does have all that support, but interesting to hear the money coming for Raised in a Sandpit, who did beat this horse home at the Jumps Trials back in May at Cambridge. So that was going back to May, and El Luchador did place in behind Raised in a Sandpit, who of course did beat home, and chase home, should I say, Crack the Good Stuff last time. I think we're going to have a look at that race, Crack the Good Stuff running second at Rotorua last time out, and it wasn't a bad run from Raised in a Sandpit in behind, but obviously it is pointing us towards Crack the Good Stuff from those who have experience in the role. Obviously, you go through El Luchador's form, and if it can jump as well as what we expect and what we've heard, then it's going to take all sorts of beating. But here's the run from Crack the Good Stuff. There it is in Phil Stevens' colours there in second place, and making ground in behind it is Raised in the Sandpit. That's in the Stripes, who's had 5 starts as a hurdler and only placed in 1 of them, but that run wasn't too bad. Obviously does have to turn the tables on Crack the Good Stuff here as well, but yeah, for me, you really got to have respect around El Luchador. Has been to the Jumps Trials, comes from a noted Jumps stable, of course a Great Northern winning stable of Mark Brooks, and obviously has won a Kiwi Fruit Cup, won a Parliamentary, and placed in a Taumarunui Gold Cup as well. So bringing the right sort of flat form, it's in good form and can jump, so yeah, no surprises. I'm with the favourite here, Greg.
Yeah, and the punters are too, well and truly, Aidan. Let's have a look at our open hurdle, because there's a lot more exposed form here. Top of the book, one of the best, ZD Didico, $9 and $2.75. Maybe the distance, the 3100, might have a part to play here, although should get track conditions to suit. And Laykeeper, who was so good in the Sydenham, Thad, very brave too, I thought. In the National, maybe the shorter distance might be again Didico here, but it's certainly in the favour of Laykeeper.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why they were so heavily backed on that first day in the Sydenham, and then punters got it exactly right down south. The extra distance came on board. They all jumped ship onto Jack Frost, and they were duly paid the money that day. So, yeah, Laykeeper 2.7, certainly steady in the market at that price. They're not leaping in, Greg, to be perfectly honest, at that mark. The horse I touched on earlier, Clapper Thunder, going from 3 for 4 over the hurdles. Boy, oh boy, someone knew something. Had a couple of runs on the flat before it made its hurdle return last start and bolted in that day. Bet a very well-backed Banbury lad. They're in again. We opened 8s into 6s now. Big Red Moon, another interesting runner. It looks a talented herder in the making, certainly an up-and-comer. Good support at 7.5. And El Disparo's there. That's been a bit of a shortener as well, Greg, in the market. Has been 8 into 6.5. So yeah, just shopping around the favour a little bit. Potentially some each-way quotes are worth having a go at in this race, particularly Clapper Thunder, El Disparo and Big Red Moon.
As we head to Aidan, Laykeeper, first time I ever saw the horse was in the Sydenham, Aidan, and just a neat jumper, loves this place, has been a winner 5 times here, and again there's a lot of ticks and not too many negatives against this horse.
Yeah, the one negative might have been coming from Thad. They're not really jumping into the horse. I would have thought that here's a bet that Punters could have really sort of chomped in with confidence, because Laykeeper, what is a 12-length hurdle winner the very first time he went over jumps. He's had 8 starts in this role for 5 wins, 3 minor placings, and like you say, it does... we come to Te Aroha and the record's good. Is trained here by Simon Rees as well. We have a look at the run at Riccarton last time out. In fact, is this the race 2 starts back, I think, when he's actually beaten home Jack Frost. Or certainly he beat Jack Frost in the Sydenham, and then came out and went down to that horse in the Grand National. So, any form around Jack Frost is good form, and we're seeing Laykeeper beating that horse home. So, it is good enough form. Home track advantage here as well, and I thought very hard to beat. The danger is probably It's a Wonder, who's had a flat preparation for this. The last time we saw the horse in hurdling was in the Hawke's Bay Hurdles, been running 4th, was 2nd in the Waikato Hurdles earlier on, and then outside those, maybe Big Red Moon, who's been pretty good in the last couple, and Zeddy Doodah Deco. We're going to have a look here at It's a Wonder as well, and this is the horse whose Hawke's Bay Hurdles run was so good. Obviously, we're seeing horses like Monarch Chimes, who's gone over to Australia and placed in a Grand National at the most recent start. But in recent starts, the flat runs have been okay, and you've got to remember back when he was something of a certainty beaten in that Waikato Hurdles, going back, 5 or 6 starts now. So that run, not too bad from a proficient jumper. I thought if there was a danger to Laykeeper, it was probably him. Zeddy Deco in this race as well was a Wellington Hurdles winner 3 starts back. Just after walking the track, Greg, and speaking to Jamie Phillips earlier in the week, I just wonder whether this track might be a shade too good for him.
All right, good information, Aidan, around what should be a terrific open hurdle. Let's have a look at race number 5, and this has just got the 5 going to the post, and all of them appear to be reasonably supported here. Thad, 4 of the 5 claiming, and of course Waipipi Lad with Sam Spratt. Will that be enough an advantage?
I don't know, Greg. I don't know. 5 horses go to the post. They've all got a chance. The only significant move we've seen is on the outsider in Woodsman, who was around $9 when we opened this market, currently into $7.50. So, yeah, tricky race. We have had a change of favourite. Pecoris now, our favourite at $3.20, was Duffers Creek when we opened this market, but that's only been just a tweak, Greg. Can't give you much of a lead here in this race. Very tricky, and as I say, you might want to back the outsider in a small field.
How often do we see that unfold, Aidan Rodley? Waipipi Lad and Woodsman likely to go forward here, but they can be tricky races to predict.
Yeah, exactly. And Woodsman doesn't have a great deal of barrier speed, and for that matter, nor does Waipipi Lad. Probably the best out of the barriers will be Pecoris, who it'll be interesting to see what Kate Cowan wants to do, whether she does want to press forward and lead. Waipipi Lad and also Woodsman are horses who gradually work their way to the pace. Woodsman was taken on in that last start run at Ruakaka. It was just a real tussle for the speed early on, and it probably meant that he was never really able to run his full race truly. On his best form, he'd be a decent chance. Whether this track might be just a touch wet for him, because his best form has been on better going than the heavy tracks of today, but he's got to be a contender in the race as well, and down to 53 kilograms with Tegan Newman's claim. Here's the horse that I've got on top, and with a bit of confidence too, although Thad once again just giving us a bit of trepidation about it with the change in favouritism going the way of Pecoris. Now Duffers Creek, you can see him back in the field now, gets to the outside fence, and it's very similar actually, just looking at this track here at Te Aroha, because on the finishing line the bend starts, so those horses who are on the outside of the track can't then run straight through and finish. They've actually got to go back in, and you look at the head-on, they're all moving towards centre track about the 100-metre mark. Obviously tomorrow Te Aroha sort of earned the wrath of stewards by ducking in at the 100-metre mark, but that was partly because just the way that track finishes up at Waverley, they had to be moving towards it, otherwise they're in a straight line, they're going to go into the outside fence. So the run was good enough from Duffers Creek, and I thought the run of a winner. It's a horse that I'm going to be playing with confidence here today.
And just 56 kilos for Duffers Creek. We know he can carry a lot more than that and successfully. So, yeah, I'm hearing you there. Let's have a look at the maiden steeplechase. Horse that's won plenty over the hurdles is Delacroix, being ridden by outstanding jumps jockey in Sean Phelan. $5.50 and $1.95. $3.60 about Mesmerise. Ray Connors, Isaac Lupton. Need we say more, Thad?
It's not a bad combination, is it, Greg? They've certainly been there, done that, and this looks another horse on the rise, Mesmerise. Pretty devastating breaking maiden steeples. But going up against a couple of horses that have certainly sort of probably been there, done that, coming back from open class down at Riccarton there, and Kiddo and Delacroix. I would suggest to you Kiddo and Mesmerise are going to fight out favouritism here. Nothing much splits them at this point in the betting. Mesmerise just holding favouritism currently at 3.6. There's a horse down the bottom, Greg. I see the money's on the tote early, Fast Catch. It's caused us some headaches in the past, and when the money's been on, they haven't been far away. I see tote money suggests Fast Catch is going to be in play today at 6.2, so keep an eye on Fast Catch. But yeah, it looks like Mesmerise and Kiddo, so Myers and Connors to fight out favouritism in the maiden steeple. Perhaps no surprise.
Myers, Connors, you throw the Parsons names in here. Gee, there's some talented people involved in this race, Aidan Rodley.
Yeah, there sure are. Just the other guys who you just want to put your faith in, because they've got the track record all the time. Mesmerise is knocking, isn't it? Surely it must be today. That's the way I'm seeing it anyhow. With 3 second placings in this roll over the bigger fences in the last 3 starts. You go back to that second on the first day at Riccarton. It wasn't bad, and behind Speedy Jacks, back home Delacroix that day. So there's a push for that horse here. Second in this race, in behind Des de Jure, beats home Just Name the Price, who's come out of that, and since then run second in a maiden steeplechase at Wanganui, and behind Kip Kano, who's obviously a very proficient jumper as well. So yeah, the runs from Mesmerise have all been good, and you just think with the experience as a steeplechaser that today would probably be the day. But we've assembled a decent enough field as well. You can see the closing stages there, just coming through the middle of them in the hands of Isaac Lupton, who again takes the ride today. The dangers, who are they going to be? Well, Kiddo does appeal. Sean Fannin and Kevin Myers combine, and it was only narrowly beaten in the maiden steeplechase debut that was back in July, and hasn't had another start in that rollover over steeplechases since. So that looks pretty good, and did place in a hurdle last time out. Just speaking to Sean Fannin during the week as well, that he was really happy with this horse as getting back into big fences. He said he's been waiting for this. So I think they are the clear 2 in the race. Obviously Delacroix, they wouldn't be coming up here without sort of having sort of decent ambitions of winning this, whether it might be just a travelling companion for the Hughes runner in the feature later on or not. But yeah, I'm with Mesmerise ahead of Kiddo and Delacroix.
Let's go to the feature jumping race of the day, and it does come up in the form of the Bridges Insurance Services Pakuranga Hunt Cup. Over the 4,200 metres, that should play a part for the likes of the Big Opal at $4.20. And Perry Mason, who's been in terrific form. You speak about combinations. P. Nelson A. Kuru, $4.20. They'll be pretty keen on that, Thad.
You could do worse than that as well, Greg. Yeah, look, they want to be on Perry Mason, and I don't blame them after that last start win in restricted open company by about 7.5 that day. So he steps up to the big boys, but yeah, with that sort of strength behind him, you'd want to say Perry Mason certainly a star potentially of the future. So 4.2 punters, customers happy to take that. But it is a nice betting race in saying that. Look, the name's Bond gets to its happy hunting ground here at Te Aroha at 5.5. It could lead them a merry dance, no doubt. And obviously our Jackson for the Connors team again is building towards a win. And I haven't even mentioned the second favourite at Big Opal. So there are many chances, but customers want to settle on Perry Mason, who they see as an up-and-coming star.
The name's Bond falling at this venue was a surprise to many. I'm picking the horse can bounce back here, Aidan, having won 10 times on this track. To be fair to say, quite enjoys the place.
Yeah, exactly, and of course this is where Stephen Ralph was training from for a period as well. Yeah, go back 3 and 2 starts back, and he was very good here. He does look as though he's probably the likely leader in the race. Although now with the track coming up a little bit better than what I'd expected, I thought it would have been sort of a fairly loose heavy, but the track's in pretty good order, and that might just play into the hands of the Big Opal here. They are undoubtedly the 2 speed factors in the race, and that might mean they might run it along here. The Big Opal's won 7 of 15 as a steeplechaser, and you've got that Fan and Myers partnership again. So in the end, that's the way I've gone ahead of Perry Mason. This horse's only defeat in the last 3 has been at the hands of Shamal in the Grand National. So, the subsequent Grand National winner, that was at Trentham a couple of starts back. And we're going to go back and have a look at this last start win because it was very good. Beats home Venerate in this race as well. So you've got to say Perry Mason, he's into this. 5 steeplechase starts for 2 wins and a minor placing. This is undoubtedly the biggest test here, but as you can see, he's put a space on them this day, and he does look hard to beat. In the end, I've gone with the Big Opal to beat him with the name's Bond as the main danger. I did find a bit of a space back to our Jackson, who was a maiden steeplechase winner a couple of starts back at Trentham. Wasn't too far from old Countess at Wanganui last time out, but does need to turn the tables on that horse, even with a kilogram advantage. I was thinking it was down to the 1, 2 and 5 horses, and I'm quite happy to have the Big Opal on top, especially now we're getting to these slightly superior track conditions, Greg.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing Speedy Jacks there too. Of course, came through the National Carnival, and we know Kevin and Pam very keen to have a runner in the Northern and potentially win it. And if any year this horse would be suited to, it certainly would be this year. So our fronts up today will be of interest, particularly to those in the south. Moving along, we go back to a small field here, race number 8. Half a dozen going to the post here. Baker Forsman runner paying $7, second to outsider. Not often we'd see that, not in the last 12 months, that anyway.
No, certainly not. You've got to be always a little bit wary when you're opening them up 5th favourite in a race, even though he's still only $7. So it does show you the evenness of this market. I guess the story here, Greg, is Midnight Runner and Dougie. We opened them joint favourites, $3.70 the pair. Now the money has come for Midnight Runner. It came for it last time and it was a good win. Going for 3 of its last 4 Midnight Runner. And gee, we've just lost an absolute fortune on Dougie when he has won in the past, Greg. There just isn't that fervour around him today, obviously coming back from Australia. Now, I don't want to put words in the trainer's mouth, Greg, but the money's certainly suggesting they're not expecting necessarily a win today, and there is some improvement in him. They want to see him go around because he has just eased off that opening line, Dougie. And as I say, when they think he's ready to go, he's won, and they've made plenty. So it's probably a pretty good lead to say Midnight Runner, a decent bet in the race. Resurrect's an interesting runner, 1.5 lengths off Julius. Doesn't look too bad a form. At its resuming run, or at its last start to run second, so that looks strong enough form. So gives you an idea that there are many chances, but the story's probably between those 2 favourites, Greg, Dougie and Midnight Runner.
And Midnight Runner trained by Peter and Dawn Williams, claiming here too, lightweight, on speed. Yeah, there's a lot to like there, Aidan.
There's a bit of speed in this race too, though, Greg. You know, when you look at Resurrect, because that really was a sprint that day. That they did run second to Julius. It was on speed, 1, 2, 3 round the corner. The third horse was 3 wide the trip and still managed to run third. So it was pretty much on pattern. We're going to have a look at it. Here it is too. So this is Julius out in front, Resurrect second, and Contessa Vanessa, who was 3 wide. The trip does kick on for third, and then you've got close up just in behind the leader in the 1-1 who runs fourth. It's knocked out of contention in the Foxbridge Plate, so we didn't get a true line on that horse's ability, but we did from Julius, and he ran a very close second and behind a Group 1 winner in Melody Bell. Resurrect, I just wonder whether Te Aroha might have been a better sort of fit for this horse, just especially the way that he was on speed this day at Te Aroha and was advantaged by being there. I'm not too sure just how the flat races are going to play out at Te Aroha, but he will be one of those speed factors in the race along with Midnight Runner. I'm sure they'll press forward again with Julian Castano claiming 4 down to 51.5. It does give him certainly a weight advantage, but on the flip side is you've got an inexperienced jockey, and this is going to be a tactical race with just the 6 runners. I've gone with Dougie on top. He's a horse who's trained on the track. The drift is a little bit concerning, but he was in a far higher pressure race in Sydney last time out, and he was entitled to fade. He was very good at Te Aroha 2 starts back. He only has to bring that form to be winning this, I think. Elusive Treasure, who's run after being caught 4 and 3 wide for the trip in the Foxbridge last week, was very good, although 61.5 when he's coming up against a well-backed runner like Midnight Runner carrying 10 kilograms less might be a bit of a concern.
Small field, good race though, intriguing contest. Looking forward to the 8th on the program. Let's get to the last, and as a betting contest, Thad, this is about as even as it is all day. Switching time rather at 2.70, but both Deluxe Edition and My Gift, and Sound Works for that matter, right in the market.
Yeah, they are. Look, switching time, Greg, $2.70, winner of 3 of its last 4. Went to Ruakaka last time, up over ground there on the 30th of June. So it has been freshened up for this and back to the mile. $2.70. Wouldn't say punters are overly happy to take it, but it looks like they are going to be resigned to taking it in the end. Not too much action outside switching time at this stage. My Gift, an interesting runner. Look, a lot of people's bet of the day last start there at Te Aroha. Didn't disgrace itself by any means, running third to De Gaulle at 3.4. You wouldn't be surprised to see My Gift be fighting at the finish the second favourite, but clearly best back the favourite with a freshen up switching time for Nigel Tiley.
What about speed-wise? Where things going to unfold here? Well, there's a few that could be involved, no doubt. Aidan, how did you line them up?
For me, Greg, I had Staccato leading this without too many issues at all, with switch in time and My Gift taking up the next couple of posies. But I'd be very surprised if Staccato isn't a couple of lengths clear in running in this one. Certainly I've got it a lot more clear cut than the 5 across the track that we've got there in that speed map. Yeah, Yorkshire Dales' defection from this race has opened it up a little bit, because that horse is going to take some beating here. Deluxe Edition had beaten at home in a couple of those well, in the race 2 starts back at Rotorua. Now, Deluxe Edition has just followed the same track. Everyone's gone scouting wide for better runs at Rotorua and Pukekohe in the last couple, and Deluxe Edition's decided, no, we'll just stay in close. Certainly saved a lot of lengths, even though it was an inferior going, and we did see the likes of Yorkshire Dales making really strong ground out wide. You can see the advantage that Tegan Newman's got from saving ground, and she did much the same last time out at Pukekohe, and that sort of brought the horse right into contention, was only beaten 2 1/4 lengths on the line. So you'd have to think that Deluxe Edition, especially now with the scratching of Yorkshire Dales and Blue Tent 22, a horse who was going to be out the back door last, is now a little bit closer to them. And if Tegan Newman can pick the right track, and she certainly has the last couple, then maybe some sort of chance. Did beat home Truman here. That was at Tauranga, I think 4 back, and Truman's been going pretty good races as well. In the end, though, I'm going to go with My Gift. I just think now is the time. 3 runs back in New Zealand, all of them have been good runs, and today just might have a little bit of a class edge on them. So on top for me, the 6 My Gift over the favourite Twitch and Time, Greg.